Hey, this is Chuck Hogan with Your Best Life, and welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. The app's completely free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 forward. So, good evening, everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I know I say this quite often, but we've got another treat for you. And she is an amazing coach, a strategist. Coach Ambereen is someone that has taken life in stride as the mother of 3 amazing children and an entrepreneur. She is one of those folks that is looking at life from the synergistic standpoint of how family is integrated together and how we actually elevate in our we can live the most extraordinary life possible. And I'm so blessed to have you on this evening. And thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight. I've been very excited after reading your bio. I was like, okay, this is good stuff, and we're going to be able to go deep tonight. I love it. So thank you for being here.
Well, I want to say I'm in the uttermost gratitude for you having me here. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to how all of this unfolds.
Me too. It's, Eduardo and I used to, when we first started this show, we'd be like, oh, let's have questions and let's put it out to people and we'll pre-frame and everyone, it's going to be perfect. It's like, let's show up and let's go deep. And what we have found is that for the everyday person who's listening to this, episode tonight, if it's live or recorded, what's beautiful is being able to find distinctions that actually allow you to live your best life. And there was something that came up tonight, which is living a life. And I'd love to know from you, Ambereen, what does that mean to you? Like when we say living deliberately or living life by design, what can we help give an insight to those viewers out there that will maybe just like give them an aha moment, a little light bulb?
Yeah. So when you say, those words, when I say live a life by design, you only get one. It's being intentional about your life.
Beautiful.
Knowing when you need a break and communicating that to your family or to your loved ones and saying, you know what, I really can't come for dinner, even like committed, because I'm just exhausted. Like just something overtook it. I don't want to come there, mess up everybody's move, mess up the whole energy. I just know I need to take a beat, and that's what I'm going to do. Or sometimes spontaneity is being such a fuel when it comes to having fun and doing whatever you want. So being spontaneous, but of course maintaining the fact that you have integrity with who you are. I think that's key. For me, when you're leading a life by design, it's just intention stacking. I know we hear often about like habit stacking, add this habit to this, and you're gonna, they keep rising up. But when you are intentionally showing up for every single thing, you actually start to plan a beautiful life, and you have so many moments and memories that you can take back with you.
Now that's beautiful. The power of presence is sometimes a very overseen, or it's kind of like an afterthought. They go, oh yeah, I showed up. And I was like, but you weren't here. You're physically here, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically, it just seemed like there was some distance between that heart space and the head space. And then as far as energy was concerned, it was like, okay, yeah. It's kind of like when you see someone and they're on their phone, when all the freaking time. And so it's like, okay, if they even have their phone in their hand, are they present? And so oftentimes I'll ask, well, you know what? It's so lovely to have you here. Would you mind putting your electronic devices down, face down, and away from you? Just for the period of time that we're blessed to be with one another. And they go, oh, yeah. Is it a problem? I go, no. In fact, I said, it's actually a blessing. We're just going to go ahead and give you a break from that energetic interaction. And so we can actually be deliberate.
Yeah. And it's beautiful that you said that, because there was, of course, Simon Sinek, like who doesn't know him? He is like a leader when it comes to leadership development, corporate culture, and knowing and understanding our actions actually produce reactions. And
Sure.
so he was at this conference just talking and kind of giving his pitch about how to become better as leaders. And he's like, hey, anybody got a phone? Anybody? And so he's like, can I borrow your phone? Like literally, it's a random stranger. He takes their phone. Now he starts continuing to talk. And he says, how important do you feel? If I have my phone and I'm talking to you and I'm fully present, but now with my hand, the phone is moving along, that shows you that you're not the most important thing.
Yes.
And the same is true for the work that I do, because I am fully charged when it comes to families, right? That is where I feel home. That is where I feel like purpose meets passion. And
Yes.
oftentimes it's that simple thing of, okay, well, I mean, I spend time with my kid. We have dinner together. And just
Right.
last week, I had, a new client I was talking to. She's like, well, that's what we can't do. We can't put the phone down during dinner. We have it together every day. And then so we're kind of going back to, well, are you really then even present for dinner? Might as well take your plates in your rooms and just call it dinner.
Yeah. There used to be an age-old saying that the family that eats together, lives together, thrives together. And it's like, oh, okay. And yet we started noticing that in family units, and I'll call it in ecologies of relationships. So if it's personal or professional, that the distractions of electronics, and even more so, and this was very interesting, was to see the dynamics that were kind of rallied around, are you living and being your best, or are you just doing your best? Because there's this ideology that we have a family saying since my children were very young, you can be doing your best, but never being your best. When you're being your best, you'll always do your best, whatever that is in the moment, because there's no such thing as perfection.
Yeah.
So we get to live in that space. I love what you said, though, and I love Simon Sinek's work. It's the infinite mindset, by comparison to living in a finite ideology, changes the entire perspective. But for so many families too, and I live through this, Ambereen, so I can say this with some conviction, that I remember when I developed this saying that my family and I deserve the best of me and not what's left of me. Because I would burn heaven and earth to move and make everything happen for a client. I would do, no stone unturned, no bush left unburnt. It was scorched earth. I'm gonna make it happen. And I get home exhausted. I have no energy left for them. I'm like, why am I working so hard?
Yeah.
To provide for them. And I thought I was this is to you, my sister, because you hit the nail on it. I thought I was giving them what they needed from me.
Yeah.
I was giving them what they wanted from me, not what they needed. So how do you help people define getting that clarity within themselves, where they don't go into self-victimization of, but I'm working so hard, and you don't know what I put in for a day, and then but you have all these asks. How would you help someone walk through about a little unwinding that kind of tension that mounts with that?
So it's one of the simplest questions that I ask you. What's the most important thing in your life?
Beautiful.
And if somebody has a family, that comes up, or health comes up.
Yes.
Right. And so people will, and I said, well, if the most important thing for you is your family, are you really showing them that they're the most important? Often I think the story is our family is the most important thing for us, yet we give them the leftovers, like you said. We give them, the worst of us. Because they're not going to go anywhere. A client will say to your face, like, if I'm not doing my job well, they're like, you know what? We didn't sign up for this. We signed up for an hour a week. You're giving us 20 minutes a week. You know what? We want my money back, and I want to end this right now. Your kid is never going to say, hey, Dad, I signed up for unconditional love. I need my refund. I'm going back to God, right? Like that's not going to happen.
Send me home.
So
it's like this. You bring up a great point. Well, and there's an identity that goes with it, right? because there's the other side to this, which is, and I'm sure you've never experienced this with your own children, because as a neurostrategist, I'm sitting down and going, my kids ask questions when? All the time. Hey, Dad, can I ask you for your opinion, your advice? Absolutely. I will say,
yes,
and give it to them straight. And they're like, thanks. That helped. A couple weeks later, they'll have a conversation with someone of your caliber or an associate or a friend or, one of their honorary aunts or uncles. And they're like going, oh, Felix is like the best. Oh my gosh. He put things where I get it. And I go, well, great. Tell me what you talked about. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, did we just not have this conversation a couple days ago? And the truth is, I've had to learn to park my ego as a parent and say and I don't mean to sound contrite when I say this, because I don't mean this. It matters where the information comes from. It's not like I don't care where it comes from. I do, because I know when it's coming from a loving, kind, centered, present soul that loves my family. And I go, that's qualified information. I would trust them with any of my family members. Thank goodness they got the lesson. Thank goodness. And it's like going, but there's also that part of me that goes, I said the same thing. And yet, that's just my own pity party. And I go, so we kind of have to let that go too, right? There's some freedom
One of the
in
most
that.
important things that we have to remember is when I have a lot of different programs that I run, but right here we're talking about when I'm taking a family through a journey of about 3 months minimum. One of the most important things that I work with them on is it's not about you. I will say it to your face. The dad will be like, I'm working 12 hours a day to provide for these kids. They don't appreciate that, no gratitude, and you're just like, all right, bro, back it up. Like literally, you need you to back it up. It's not about you. It's when you are in a family, it cannot be taken personally. And so what we really start to do is not only do we identify and define, like, is the family the most important thing? Well, how are you showing it? So we sit down together, and it's fun because I do breakout groups, but like the family, and I'm like, okay, you two like brainstorm of some values that you think are important for your family, and then the other people are doing, and it's like this beautiful collaboration comes from it. Then they all come back, and then we do like a brain dump, and they're like, and then you start to see that, oh wow, they're already living into two of these, all of them. But I'm not one to say anything. I'm like, okay, well, I want you to choose the top 5. And these are the foundations of who you are as a family.
Wonderful.
And any given moment in time, when a kid is like, hey, Dad, like, yeah, you told me that one time and I didn't really get it from you. I got it from Uncle Frank. Because Uncle Frank didn't really take it personally because your eyebrow lifted up when I told you that. And so I didn't feel like a safe space, or I felt like I already had my defenses up, so I don't want to listen to you. And so you really zoom in to figure out, how do you have this conversation in a respectful way? They're just filled with courage, because for even a father to correct a daughter, right, who is so emotional many times, and for a man, he's like, dude, come on, girl, like all I said is no, you can't go to the movies tomorrow. Like that's all I said. And your daughter is like, well, I'm not used to listening to no. So what's happening with Dad? Like something's off. And then you actually have to be like, hey, sweetheart, like, I don't think that this movie is the right movie for us to watch together. Or I actually have 2 meetings that have been pre-booked. And you start to actually take yourself away from the situation and make it more about your family. And when you do that, you learn to accept them as they are.
Yes.
And that's when the breakthroughs happened, because your kiddo is not the one that you gave birth to, if you're a woman, or for a man, the one that you brought home, that kid has left the building like after 2 months of being that kid. And so this beautiful journey of evolution that we as adults want, we want growth, we want to expand our career path, we want to take new risks, we want to have new experiences. Yet we believe and somehow think that our kids are not on that same page when they're like, I'm writing my own book. So
true. And it is interesting. I know so many people, so many adults that are trying to be their kids' friends. Like, oh, they're my best pal, they're my buddy, they're my chum. And I go, well, I'm close with my children. We have a very loving relationship. And My privilege is to be their father, not their buddy. And I've had some critics about this. They go, oh, you don't want to have that relationship down the road where you go fishing together and hang out. And I said, hey, we have a lot of similar interests. Why? Because they grew up with having these examples in their life. So if it's physical fitness, if it's martial arts, if it's academics, if it's leadership expansion. 22 years with Tony Robbins, and so for me, as a senior trainer, my kids grew up in this environment, and so they've gone to leadership conferences, and they're constantly looking for input and great resources and mentors. And I go, beautiful, beautiful. And on the other side, I don't need to be that mentor to them all the time. And what I mean by that statement is they're constantly watching, they're measuring, they're testing, and I get to be a role model without having to be just their buddy. That doesn't mean it's devoid of love, doesn't mean it's devoid of caring. In fact, I'll go a step further and say, in many instances, it's allowed me to be even more present because I get to remove that, oh, that's my kid. It's like I get to go, hey, you're a well-adjusted young adult. And so here's the measurements in life. And so don't take my word for it. Ask Uncle Felix, your Uncle Tom, your Auntie Ambereen, your whoever it might be. Ask Mommy. Mommy's brilliant. And it's true. And so they look and they go, contrast is key as well. Because I started noticing that something too, Ambereen, and I'd love to get your insight on this. As Tony and actually Zig Ziglar and Franklin Covey and many of other people over the years started to say is that you are the company you keep. So the top 5 people you spend the most time with, you can start to really see those personalities and who they become. And one of the things that became very important, and we started changing this language pattern probably about, I'm going to say 20 years ago with the kids. My oldest is 23 now. So when he was around 3, we started asking him, what do you love? What do you love to do? Who do you love to be? And what we changed from was, who do you like? What do you like to do? And what would you like to be? Changing it to what do you love took it out of that cognitive realm and put it into more of that unconscious, where it's motivated by feelings and connection and that emotional center. How do you find for yourself and for those that you're helping walk through these processes that you're able to take them a little deeper? Because I love what you said when you do the round robin and you break them apart and then bring them back, and you start to see the modalities where they're actually living their lives, but they just have different ways of defining it. And some of the outcomes are very much the same, I would imagine.
They are, and you're kind of like at the end you see it like they're like, no, we want this one on the top, like we want this one to make the cut, and I'm like, okay, well, duke it out, right? Like convince your parents or convince your kids or convince your brother why this one deserves to be on the top 5. And when I think what starts to happen, especially in families, if you don't ask the right question, because I think it does go back to what you're saying, being present. And only when we're fully present and engaged can we ask the right questions.
Yes.
Right now, if I have 3 screens running in the background and I've got people walking around, I can try to be present with you, but I'm going to miss most of the story.
Sure.
Yet in our homes, we do it often.
Multitasking.
How do you... And in honesty, multitasking is not even a real thing. Like your brain can't do it. It's like, please, like, stop making me miserable. Like, just focus on one thing for 30 minutes. Just please, And that's what it is. It's like, often it's like really understanding and making them connect at a deeper level through the heart. Because our mind is always going to prevent us from doing those things that are difficult or uncomfortable or not the norm. But our heart is so engaged and wants that dump. And when you connect to your family or even your loved ones, or for me, right? Like for me, it was really cute. I was actually talking to my mom, right, like two Saturdays ago, and we're talking, and she's like, yeah, but like that thing that you did, right? Like that wasn't something you did that was right. And I was like, yeah, Ma, it's so bizarre that you say that. Yesterday, I was reflecting on that event. Last year, we had a huge family gathering after, I want to say, a decade and a half, where the whole family got together at festivities after the month of Ramadan. There was like 180, 200 people here all together, from like really like 800 people who are like in their 80s, 90s, all the way down to like the little beings that the mamas are holding or daddies are holding. And on that day, I did a lot of things which were very uncomfortable, which were out of the norm for our culture.
Mm-hmm.
But I literally told her, I just led with my heart. And she goes, you can't do that. We can't do that. I mean, you have to be logical. Like and so I'm like, see, whenever I make the logical moves, things just don't pan out.
You know,
and
thank you. No, thank you, because it's one of those scenarios, and thank you for this line of dialogue. There's so many distinctions to unpack in this. You know, you bring up the point of presence first of all, and I go, that's paramount. Most communication, only 7% is verbal linguistics. The rest of it is actually energy, timbre, pace, inflection, voice, and I would actually say energetic. And when we've all experienced that person, you're like going, oh, we haven't seen them in a long time, but they walk in the room and all the energy just goes right. You're like, your reticular activating system just goes bing, and you're like, wait, what? Wait, we were just having a conversation. Where'd you go? And it had nothing to do with the conversation. It had to do with energetic center and gravity. And that some people, and they're not even doing it intentionally, it's just they have this gregarious, uplifting being, and that frequency that they're resonating at is kind of like a beacon. And when it gets, you know, when it goes off, all the fireflies go to it. It's like you're not the only one. It's like, right?
It transmits, definitely does.
It does. And one of the challenges has become is that when people start living in frustration or aggravation, their harmonic resonance just drops to the floor. I mean, it becomes so low. Self-pity, self-doubt, self-loathing, indecision, discretion, procrastination. To what your point was, where focus goes, energy flows. Jim Quick, who I love, he's a dear friend, and just he's such a wit about him. And he said this, and he goes, listen, Chuck, it's real simple, man. He goes, when you're focusing on something and you're doing something, the minute you go shiny penny, you lose 85% of your efficiency in that millisecond.
Wow.
He goes, so when you said 2 or 3 things going on, my mind was like, going, okay, the math real quick. I go, you're screwed. Sorry, technical term. It's like you're going, okay, I'm not going to do anything well at this point. And so someone said, well, give me an example. I said, have you ever played rock, paper, scissors with someone? And they're like going, yeah. And I go, who's the one person that wins? And they go, they're the person that gets right in your face, and they're looking right in your eyes, and they're like, Rochambeau. You know, and you're like going, wait, I didn't even mean to put paper out there. Like, are you Jedi mind tricking me? But the deal is, they're so certain and they're so focused that you get drawn into their gravity as well. And this happens with people where we go, I was manipulated. And I go, no, you are a victim of someone else's certainty.
Yeah.
Oh.
And those people are the people who are attracting the right, you know, the people who, like you said, are beacons, right?
Yep.
I have, you know, I really love the game of energy. I think everything around us is energy, but the sad reality is we're not even in tune with it.
No.
So yeah, you can enter a party, you can enter a house, and you're like, whoa, like something just went down. Or you could be like, oh my God, it's gonna be a wonderful event. Like you just know, as no one has spoken to you, you open the door and everybody you kind of know. And I think that's what that is. Those people though, it's very intentional. They've done the work. They're growing because they want to, right? It's not like they woke up one day and they were like, oh yeah, people just get attracted to me.
Right. Well, and there's another side to it too. There are some people, they just committed to living in that state. Like that's just who they are. You know, we meet people and you're like going, they are freaking happy all the time. Like they're smiling, they're having a great time, and they go, I say, that's what I love about this. Like, I love this engagement with you. I feel you. I know who you are, girl. I mean, it's like, and people go, really? Do you think you know me? It's like, oh yeah. Why? Because I can feel it. You can too. And there's a difference when you have synergy with people, and then when you like go, boy, I'm really struggling here to find like, you know, a lifeline. Like I'm looking for a piece of dental floss that's hanging down. It's like, okay, if I just grab this, okay, I'll be all right. I'll just hold on to this for the entire conversation. There's other people like going, oh, there's floss everywhere. We pick one. We're like, what do you want to talk about? And why? I said, it's real simple. When you care, you share. And there's this ideology that when people get self-serving, I've seen folks that are really good at faking it till they make it. And then I've seen the ones that face it as they make it. And these are the progressions of existence. And I go, then actually they make it till they get to where they believe as they achieve. And they go, ooh, wait, that's a progression. I said, it is. There's only one challenge. If you're constantly living in the fake it mode and then you feel that's your recipe for success, you don't even face it. Because when it starts to get a little uncomfortable, they drop back down to faking it. That's their SOP. And I go, boy, that really is a terrible strategy.
It is, because you've now reached a ceiling. You've capped yourself, right? Because you're like, I faked it for 17 years and now I made it. This is it. Like, what do I do from here? How do I start faking it again? But the whole point, my coaching company is called Tawakkal Coaching. And the word tawakkal is an Arabic word, which literally means having faith in something greater than.
There you go.
And so, and that greater than for you could be the universe, God, a greater version of you, your best self, whatever that dialogue is. And I truly believe that people have so much more, and I have faith for them, right? Where I'm like, I can see you 3 months later, someplace that you can't even imagine.
Sure.
Just show up and do the work. Just commit to yourself that you're gonna, like you said, face it, not fake it, face it. Because in facing it is where there's so much discovery, there's so much growth, and there are perspective changes. And that's where you're like, oh wait, I've done that. Like every single day I've cooked for my family every single day. And I figured out that it's so exhausting. And now I just cook like 4 meals on the weekend. Yep. And I'm like, okay, let's divvy up. And then sometimes in the week, I just feel like cooking. So I cook additional meals. And you're just like, and this woman is now, or this man is now like, oh, I can free up a few hours of my life.
Hey,
and it's that simple shift where you start to see now a happier mother, a happier wife, a happier sister, because she actually has a time to get on the phone with you versus saying, oh, I got to get home from work, then I got to cook, then I got to clean, then I got kids, and I have bedtime, and the list goes on and on. Yeah. But if you can just say, oh, you know what? Today I come home and I thaw the food or I warm up the food. That's a 10-minute job. I got 50 minutes. I can actually just sit here and stare at the wall or read a book or pick a hobby.
And that's something that is such an underrated engagement. And thank you for bringing that up. Oh, you're brilliant. It becomes one of those scenarios where I go, I just vegged out. And I go, good. They go, no, I wasn't productive. I just kind of spaced. I go, well, you weren't watching a bunch of crazy stuff on TikTok, right? You didn't get sucked into that vortex. They go, no. Okay. I said, so what did you do? And they go, well, I actually just decompressed. I said, oh, you experienced freedom? Experienced nothingness? You experienced existing and resonating in your own frequency for a moment? And they go, well, that sounds very esoteric and very woo-woo. Okay, but how do you feel? They go, relaxed. I go, great. One thing that I know, actually 2 things. Time is the constant burn rate. That's number 1. Yeah. You get 24 hours. That's it. And then the clock resets. You don't get to amortize. You don't get to accumulate hours. It doesn't work that way. The second one is that where focus goes, energy flows. And so if you're in a constant state of stress, if you're in constant pressure, yes, you can face it as you make it. But as your point, you realize that cooking those 4 meals on a weekend, and now you get to faith it as you make it. Because you're going, hey, the meals are in the fridge. They're in the freezer. They can be warmed up. The kids aren't going to starve. There's plenty of stuff. And plus, we've got Chipotle on speed dial. So, this is easy to do. We can make it where we actually have conveniences without changing our standards. You gotta go, wait, I can still have a high quality meal. And I go, is Chipotle a high quality meal? And I go, depends on what you eat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not judging, but I go McDonald's or Chipotle. It's and for you, there's this brilliant distinction that I know that you know, but some of our viewing audience may not have realized this. And that was in slowing down, you get to speed up.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because
100%.
stress is the one universal bad guy. And I'm going to put this very succinctly. It's not the stress that you choose, it's the stress that you relinquish to. And there's a difference. The stress that you take on in your growth, it's like, I'm going to go ahead and create some muscle by having some resistance in body, mind, spirit, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I go, that's a different modality. When we start becoming under pressure, so we succumb to just the cumulative pressure of all these different things, I go, that's what creates cancer. That's what creates disease with human. And this is when the free radicals and autoimmune responders start to kick in. This is where we start to see people having blood pressure, pre-diabetes, and all these other things.
Yeah, so kind of going back to what you said, just kind of being like you just rejuvenated, you found some freedom. I often think about how much life has changed, and I love the evolution. I love the technological advancements that we as humanity has made.
Mm-hmm.
But we've lost the simplicity of life.
Yes.
And I'm a very simple person. I was like literally, I want simplicity to be so appreciated, And so my coach and I were joking, like, let's bring simple, let's bring like simplicity back. And I'm like, yeah, let's bring it back. So back in the day, our grandparents, our parents, they would walk a lot. They would walk a lot. And walking is such a beautiful place to be because now you're pondering, you're reflecting, you're noticing, you're engaging, and you're actually creating memories. And your mind is a database. It's like storing all the stuff.
Sure.
And you don't know when you pull from that. You don't know when the walk 3 months ago now connects with something today, and you're like, bam, like, oh, that's what I gotta do.
Yeah.
That simple action, and something simple, right? Like if you're walking around the neighborhood, you know where people are at.
Sure.
You'll be like, oh yeah, like back in the day when you're in Pakistan, you're like, oh, those uncles or those really old men will sit there at 6 o'clock every single day, and they're gonna have their tea. You're gonna see there are gonna be 20 kids going on bicycles around this area, and that's just how it is at this time. When you walk, you actually start to stimulate your mind in a very beautiful state, right? Because you're not jogging and running to get someplace. You're just being.
Right.
And I'll often say this where, Deepak Chopra, intelligent being, like, hopefully one day we'll get to meet. He says, when did we go from human beings to human doings?
Exactly.
And for the world that we live in now, being is very uncomfortable because then you got to face this monster, right?
So, well, and I love what he says, because the essence of a human being is that you're a being of light. You're made of protons, neutrons, and electrons. And so each one of those is a measurement of energy and light. So if we're all made of the same stuff, then how can we be so different, number one? Number two, and I said, because it's actually very simple. The differences are your experiences. So your life is the culmination of all the experiences that you get to have and accumulate. That's your life. That's your timeline. You're gonna have these little dots, blueprints. Sometimes they're big bubbles. But I was reminded of this, and thank you for bringing up, the man, Chopra. This concept of, in today's environment, like AI, we just came back from the summit in Dubai, as I'd mentioned to you prior to us hopping on. It was all about economics, but here's the deal. It's about the technological advancements that are shortening the time span of the learning process. And yet and so here's the difference though. It's taking it and artificially integrating it in where you still get to physically engage. So you can be walking in place, kinesthetically engaging yourself so that the cellular resonance and memory of everything that comes into you. So it's no different than when you get a therapeutic massaging someone's massage, and all of a sudden someone will start crying. I don't even know where that came from. It came from a memory and experience, something that happened that's been stored cellularly in your body. And when it releases, that energy, that frequency is let go. And people are like going, oh, okay, this is really woo-woo conversation for, you know, all the people living in the first, second, third, fourth dimension. I go, okay, we're going a little fifth. Stay with us. It'll be okay. And the truth is, this comes to that thing that you mentioned, Ambereen, and that is many people don't even understand why they feel the way that they feel. They have an expectation, they have an outcome, a goal, but the brain is such a screwy, you know, device, and it only works in binary. So it's like pass or fail. That's the light switch. There's no fader on this. It's either lights on, lights off. And so when you're talking about that family unit of creating synergy, I go, I love this, because it's the difference between with a laser, like a laser, to things that are going on by comparison to going, what if we just turn on the lights so that everyone can see everything that's around us, instead of, okay, Johnny, you know, 5 members of the family, Johnny, Susie, Marky, you all get a laser. Mommy and Daddy get a laser too. Go ahead and look around the room in the pitch dark and try and find exactly what it is you're looking for, the top 5 things. And it's like, you may or may not hit the target because it's so myopic. But this is the way, to your point, that's what questions do. If they're so specific that you don't have any leeway, turn the light, we're like all looking around and going, okay, wait, that's where those socks went. I have been looking for that other right sock for the last 6 months, you know, but that's just me, of course. And so when we start looking around the room, all of a sudden it's like going, wait, you saw that too? Things that weren't even in your radar, all of a sudden it's like happiness, joy, connection, laughter, right? And it's like, wow, we could all stand with, to your point, gosh, I love this conversation with you. Simplifying. We don't need a laser. We don't need to be a sniper. We don't even need just a flashlight, a floodlight. We can just light.
And it's a lot of it has to do with kind of going back and really understanding, like, why did you start a family? Why?
Yeah.
You know? And I think often people don't know why. They were like, well, it was kind of the next thing. I mean, I got married or I found somebody, and then the next thing is you just have a kid. And you're like, really?
It's what you do, right?
And so, exactly. And so I often will kind of be like, okay, well, if you didn't have a plan then maybe now is a good time to define that plan.
Love that.
Why do you want to continue to invest in your family? What is the future that you see in your family? When you are in your deathbed, how do you want to imagine them showing up? What do you want to leave behind for them? And these simple conversations, even though they seem like they're so upfront, they are such quick ways of getting you to where you need to go, you know, to be like, okay, well, hypothetically speaking, you know, you're now 75 years old.
Right.
And you are in a room. And now who do you want in this room? And the doctors have said, you know, this is the last few breaths you're going to get. Who's in this room? And then you'll start to see them say, and most of the time it's their family members, their close friends, close relatives, you know, people that they actually love and care. Okay, like, what do you want them to know about you? What do you want them to leave behind?
Right.
And it really starts to simplify a lot of things. And the sad reality is the kids don't feel that. The spouse doesn't feel that, because that door has been so close to just like, I got to do this and do this and do this and do this, or just be, or like, you know, the fact that we don't really prioritize family. We say it's the most important. That's what I always say. Like, you say it's the most important thing, but how do you prioritize them?
For many
people, you have a list.
Well, they'd like it to be the most important thing, but it's not what they need the most. And this is where their identity starts to come in. It's like, where is your significance being met? Where's your certainty, your uncertainty, your love and connection, your growth and contribution? I go, the 6 human needs aren't a joke. It's like, these are, they need, there's some satiation that needs to occur. But I was chuckling a little bit because when you go, oh yeah, so they have a baby because that's what you do. And I go, yeah, and some of them, they go, oh, and if we just have 2 or 3 more, it'll be even easier because then they'll keep each other company. And I'm like going, as the father of 3, a boy and then 2 girls. Okay. No, it didn't work that way. And for Julie and I, we've been together now, I can say happily 36 years. And it's, you know,
Wow.
Congratulations. Well, I'm married up. You know this already. It's like any guy, any woman who's going to stay with a guy for that long, they go, oh, she's amazing. And I go, she is, and she knows it. But to your point, we've made it a priority because there was a point in our life when the kids were the priority. And it was I don't want to state it this way, but I'm going to state it this way because in hindsight now, the reality of it is it was a mistake. Here's why. They learn love by modeling. They learn love by seeing public displays of affection, what real communication looks like, what prioritization looks like. And when a child knows that they're the priority over the spouse, there's a shift. Mm-hmm. And the shift that happens is that, okay, I get what I want and this is how I get it. And we made it very well known that dad's going to be hugging on mom. We're going to hold hands. I mean, to the point where the kids are like, oh, they're at it again. And it's like, God, here's the truth.
Yeah.
None of our 3 kids have entered into any kind of superficial relationships. They have all been where they're like, you know what? I'm not ready yet. I'm not, I'm good. I don't need to headlong into, this commitment with someone. And it's been so refreshing to see because when we've asked them why, and they're like going, energy wasn't right yet. It's just, it's not the right person. I go, great. Because you're not looking for everyone, you're looking for the right one.
Yeah. And I think often we really don't understand the value of role modeling.
Yes.
I think most parents are not consciously role modeling,
No.
Because if we did, we would stop doing 70% of what we do. Oh. People, I talked to this, I was talking to a family, I was working with a family, and actually not even a family, let's go to group, because I do group coaching with adolescents. And that's like I'm like, oh my God, like they inspire me so much. These little humans are like freshmen and sophomores, and I have programs built out, all through adolescence. And what they will say is, well, like, my mom's always yelling at me, but expecting me to be really respectful. Right. Or they'll say that regardless of what I do, I still feel like I haven't done enough. Right.
The do as I say, not as I do footprint. Right.
Exactly. And so that's the challenge, is really trying to understand for these children that, honestly, it's not your fault. Right. It's really not. But they think it is because they're like, last time she told me to come home and not get on tech and like eat a snack and then like do my homework and then I did my homework, and then after I did my homework I got on tech, and now she's yelling at me because it's 5:30 and I'm already on tech because she thinks I didn't do my homework. So he's like, well, did I do something wrong? Like, what could I have done better? And you start to have these children doubt their own abilities.
Yes.
And the conversation from the parents actually take away any confidence that they have, any sense of self that they have, any aspirations that they have, because the parents in their way is already limiting the child, who I can see as like transforming the world one day. I'm like, oh, if you keep doing what you're doing, like the world is going to reward you in ways you can't imagine.
Yes.
Yet, parents, we put our kids in a box, and this box may be a little bit bigger than the box that we grew up in, but it's still in the box.
Right.
I need you to shatter that box and be like, there's no box, right? We want it to be full loosey-goosey, full slime. Like for one day you're really high up, the other day you're down, one day sideways. It doesn't really matter.
Total divergent existence. Right? Yeah, I mean, it's like
exactly
because you bring up. Oh, this is so brilliant. You bring up this point, which is huge, and that is the child is looking for the parent's affirmation. They just want to feel valued, and it's
validated. Like, exactly.
Yeah, validated, acknowledged, appreciated, understood. And it's a sad conclusion when I see a lot of young adults who withdraw and run away. And some do it by running off to college, or they go to a boarding school and they go, don't worry, I'll be gone anyway. Or they're like going to spring break and they're taking off. And it's like, okay, what's the difference? Well, it's actually really simple. They have this need to feel connected. And the reason why they're going outside the family unit is that the top 5 people that they're looking for to resonate with, they can't resonate with. So they go to, this is why gangs became so prolific. This is, you know, when you think of that time, latchkey kids, they're just looking for a community, they're looking for a place to belong, common interest. So if it was dancing, art, graffiti, whatever the case might be, or in this case, colors. And it's like going, huh, interesting. And I actually had someone that go, oh, Chuck, come on, that's silly. And I said, go back in history, Yakuza, Tongs. I said, you can go back to religious sects. I said, the Crusades, they had colors, they had insignias, they had, you know, there's insignias and seals, and they wore them like a badge of honor. The same thing, because they were all seeking to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
It comes back to like the simplicity of like humans just want to be accepted. You know, so Oprah Winfrey will say this all the time. She's like, I have done 30,000 interviews and never once has someone, as an interview finished and they have not said, was I good enough? Did I do well? Should I have done something differently? And she's like, all they want is a sense of acceptance and validation. And these people are already crushing it at their game, right? These people are like, you would be like, their success is just like they're walking in success. But it's this innate desire as humans that, am I accepted for who I am? And these kids don't feel that way.
That's right.
So if they don't feel that way already at this age, imagine how much deeper it's going to get as they continue their journey into life.
Well, especially with social media and, you know, the manifestation of like a royal family like the Kardashians. And you go, are they really role models? Do they have values? Granted, they have skill. They've been able to amass tons of money and manipulate social media and do different things. And they go, oh, don't hate the player, hate the game. And I go, well, you're writing the game. And so what's happened is that now we have this artificial conflation of what success looks like. To your point, Oprah, 30,000 interviews, and they keep coming back with the same thing. Hey, am I good enough? Well, the answer was, you wouldn't have been here if you weren't. And yet by everyone else's standard of success, because you have the plane, trains, automobiles, you know, the rings, the watches, the house, that you're success. And I go, and you said it best, Ambereen, when someone is on their deathbed, does the Rolex make a difference? Does the Bugatti in the driveway make a difference? Does the, you know, Boeing BBJ on the runway? No, it's the people in that room, the memories that you have, the energetic center that you feel, and the connection that you get to engage with another human being.
Yeah.
Wow. It's everything, isn't it?
It kind of goes back exactly to what we started off with, right? A life by design. It's intentionality. You're in pursuit of your best self, your best life. And that's the intention that you have. And that could be in your career path. That could be in finishing this project. That could be in passing a test for kids. It doesn't really matter what it is.
Right.
At the end of it, it really just comes down to like, what do I want to aspire to be? Yeah. How would I know I did this to my best? How could I sleep tonight not having a regret?
And you get to choose how you need to feel most often. You do, yes. Irrespective of what's going on in the universe. Oh, I could speak to you forever. Like, seriously, this is important. But I know we're wrapping up the show right now. And so I just want to remind everyone to check out Coach Ambereen. She is amazing. We'll make sure that when this posts, we will actually put in how to connect with you. And thank you for your time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're a gift.
Thank you for having this brilliant conversation. You're a very intelligent man. I love the connects. It was amazing.
This is beautiful for all of us. Thank you. I'm going to remind everyone the show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out on SpanglishWorld.ca for all the news, all the programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it. All the best.